The Pope's Office of Charities is helping the homeless and refugees in the heart of Rome. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski, the papal almoner, distributed over 50 gallons of milk and food items near Rome's biggest train station today. Yesterday, the cardinal also gave fresh produce to religious sisters who are under strict quarantine after positive coronavirus cases. The cardinal told EWTN that he expects to continue this work every week during the pandemic. Sandra Monteleoni, volunteer at the Vincentian Center, joins us now from Rome. Sandra, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Tracy.
I know that you've been a volunteer for about 8 years. Can you tell us exactly what type of work you do as a volunteer?
Well, I help the homeless to shower. We have a big room in the center of Rome where we give them breakfast, and then we give them clean clothes, and then they can shower, and they can shave, and then whatever they need, and they can stay a few hours with us, and then they have to go. But we can give them food. We can give them, apart from breakfast, a little more food, and it's nice. It's really something I love to do.
That's wonderful. What great work you're doing. And I know the center's been closed because of the coronavirus. What has your experience been, your own personal experience been during the lockdown?
Well, my personal experience is actually the hardest thing is to stay in the present moment. You know, not to think too much about the future or about the past. If only I could do this, if only I could do that. I think you have to work on yourself at this moment that you are alone. And you have to sort of develop the best relationship you can have with yourself.
That's really good advice. I know you're in Rome, you've been there most of your life, but you were born in New York. Do you still have family in the States? And if so, have you been able to speak to them during this pandemic, and how are they doing?
They're doing fine, luckily. I have a brother. He lives in upstate New York right now. He was an architect. He retired. And then my nephew, he's a lawyer for the Southern District of New York. But they're doing fine. They have kids, and they're in the country right now. So they're doing fine, luckily.
Good, good. I'm glad to hear that. What do you miss most, you know, of being able to go out and not being in lockdown during the quarantine? Is there one thing that you miss the most, and maybe one thing that you would love to do as soon as the quarantine is lifted?
I miss the most, I miss Villa Borghese, which is a lovely park right next door to the house. And I go every day. I used to go every day and walk in nature, and really, I'm so happy when I look at the trees and the little flowers that are starting to bloom, were starting to bloom, and now it's all locked, it's closed, you can't go there. So I miss that mostly.
Sandra, do you have any advice for folks? Obviously, as you probably know, the United States, we're going through the same thing right now as well as everyone all over the world. Any advice for those right now during this difficult time?
Well, last night something interesting happened. I live next door to a church, and I was in my living room, and just with a little light on, very dim, and the phone rang, and I answered, and it was Father Gabriel. He was from the church. I know him very well. And he said, "Sandra, are you okay?" I said, "Yes, Father. Why?" And he said, "Because I only saw very dim light. You didn't turn out all the lights as usual." So I turned them on. He said, "Oh, okay, so you're doing well." And this was really a sign for me that we are not alone. If you have faith, or if you really look inside yourself, you can see that we are not alone. We are all part of something much bigger.
That is great advice. Thank you for sharing that with us, Sandra. And thank you for joining us today. We appreciate it. Sandra Monteleoni, volunteer at the Vincentian Center in Rome. Thank you again.
Thank you very much.